Good day and welcome back to another episode of On the Couch. So this is where we answer all of your plumbing related questions. Whatever questions you have, keep them coming. So today with me on the couch is Mr. Steve Brown. Steve, welcome today.
Thank you. It's good to be back. There was a couple of months ago that we were here. I see you still looking young and sprightly.
It's been a while. We're on the go.
And I'm throwing things around already.
Already, we'll see how this goes today.
Yeah, no, it's gonna. As long as you keep it tidy, I'm happy. All right.
All depends on the question. So let's see what the people were asking us. So I see the first question today was from Brian, and Brian asked, "Please kindly advise as to which edition of SANS 10400 can I purchase for the licensed plumber assessment?" Brian, so the simple answer is always purchase the latest version. So I think maybe for all of the standards, any standard that you want to buy, we all know you go to the SANS website. I think the website is store.sabs.co.za. Alternatively, just start at the SABS website, sabs.co.za. You follow the links to their web store, and they will always provide you what the latest version is. As far as 10400 is concerned, and in this case, SANS 10400 Part P, as it pertains to drainage, the latest version is the 2010 version, and that is the latest version that's applicable to plumbing at the moment.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, just make sure that you've got the current one. You know, when they do change, there's some small changes that are in there, but very important that you kept up to date. Look for the latest one. And if you don't, if you're not sure, get hold of either IOPSA or PIRB or your regional chairman, and they'll guide you from there. So
yes,
quite simple.
Absolutely, and always look for the latest.
Our next question is from John. Please may you inform me of how to lodge a complaint with the PIRB for unprofessional behavior experienced.
So
John's obviously a customer. He's obviously a client.
It sounds like that. So yes, customers can lodge a complaint for unprofessional behavior of a plumber. Unprofessional behavior could be, well, mostly related to technical non-compliance. In other words, if a plumber comes to your premises and they do work that does not comply with the national standards, that is regarded as unprofessional behavior. We expect, all plumbers that join the PRB sign a code of conduct in which they say they agree to be professional, to not mislead customers, to comply with all the legislation and so on. So if that did not happen, I think the first advice always is please first resolve it with the plumber. First try to resolve it directly with the plumber. If that is not successful, you can always contact the office directly. You can contact us directly, send an email to prb@prb.co.za, and our friendly staff will take you through the process. There's a formal process. You have to complete the complaints form so that it gets registered. That way it's in the system, it cannot be lost. It will go through all the checks and balances, and the process can be addressed with the plumber.
You know, and I think the other thing, in terms of those complaints that we handled, is just make sure that all of the details, about the complaint, anything that you've had in terms of communications, going through to the plumber, and once we've received it, then obviously we would take it up with the plumber and then try and get a response from there. So I think we've been fairly successful, in terms of complaints. We always accept one or the other, depending on what situation we have. But in ethics, I think it's to just try and make sure that the communication is open. If the guy parked on the grass and flattened it, and now it's unprofessional, or let the cat out or something, it's just let's have a look at what's there and the detail that comes.
No, it's quite important what you say as well. Understand that we can only work based on facts.
Yeah.
If a person is just upset with the plumber, and it becomes a he said, she said situation, it's very difficult for us to follow up. We have to rely on the facts of the matters.
Correct.
And we always try to remain as objective as possible, give everybody a fair chance to provide their case. But the final resolution is always based on facts. So please, whenever you lodge a complaint, bring as much facts, evidence as you can to us, so that we have something to verify.
Correct. And I think the more that we have, the better it is to have an understanding of exactly what's transpired and those communications. Because quite often we'll get it, the plumber was very unprofessional, and you're trying to get that out of the client or the complainant is, eventually you find out that it was totally unrelated, or it was a warranty call and the client didn't understand that that didn't fall within the parameters of the plumber because he had put the service call over to the manufacturer, etc., etc. So it's just to unpack it, make sure we got the facts, and then try and resolve it as amicably as we possibly can.
And I think the final, I can just mention that, I mean, you've mentioned such a lot of things here that a lot of scenarios that can transpire. Sometimes it requires information, education to the plumber. Correct. Sometimes it requires information and education to the consumer. And that is part of what we do to make sure that at the end of the day, everybody understands exactly what the legislative requirements are, where it falls into place. And I mean, most of the time, I think in by far the majority of cases, everybody walked away happy that it was resolved as amicable as possible.
And then sometimes it's just a misunderstanding. You know,
it's happened.
You know, things happen. You know, as they say, shift happens on the airplanes. You know, but basically that's it. And I think, as I say, there is a line of communication to come through. And the plumbers, you know, to be honest, and I've been handling complaints, you know, through both PIOB and IOPSA, is that the plumbers, in essence, want to work. They want to have success in terms of what they're doing. They understand the importance of the clients, and they want to do things correctly. So I think...
yeah, absolutely.
Put it through. So send those complaints through, and exactly what you said. PIRB at PIRB.co.za. There you go. Look at that. All right, so I think before we carry on to the next question, let's jump into an ad break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Good day. How can I help you?
Hi. I'm here to log in my COCs, but I seem to be having an issue with my computer.
No problem. But did you know that you can log your COCs using an app on your cell phone?
Oh, what app is that?
It's called the App Plumber. Do you have a smartphone with you?
Yes, I do.
Oh well, let me show you how it works.
Not only can you access your PIRB profile on the App Plumber, but you can also earn CPD points while exploring the plumbing industry in the palm of your hand. Download the app from Google Play Store and join thousands of other happy users.
And welcome back after the ad break. See, they even had time to move the plant so I don't scratch my head here.
You enjoyed it, Herman.
I did. Okay, let's move on. We've got some interesting questions coming up. The next question comes from Adrian. And Adrian asked, how can I determine if a plumber is PRB registered to issue solar hot water installations or to issue COCs for solar hot water installations? Are all PRB registered plumbers able to issue solar hot water COCs? Or do they have to undergo specific PRB certification to be able to do the COCs? Steve, I think this is a fairly straightforward one.
Yeah, so I think, you know, in terms of the training material for a plumber, you know, solar and heat pumps are not within the training curriculum currently.
That's correct.
So therefore, in terms of achieving the designation for solar and for that matter heat pump, is that the plumber goes for additional training at any one of the accredited training providers.
So just in terms of what he's asking there, so the training he does it's not with PRB.
No,
it's
remember,
external.
PIOB doesn't do training.
That's correct. Yes.
Correct. So PIOB does not do the training. So he would go to a training provider.
Yes.
That is accredited to deliver the training in terms of heat pump and solar. I think the duration is 4 days on solar, and I think it's a day on heat pump, and there's various assessments that can be done. Then on completion of that, he would receive a, an attendance certificate that he's attended the accredited training. From there, he would then submit through to IOPSA. IOPSA are the quality assessment partner in terms of that. That certification would come through, an online test would be done, and then on passing that, he would then be in a position now where he would go to PIRB and be able to get the designation for either heat pump or solar. So just being licensed is one thing, that's super. But now the next step in terms of getting the designation is to go through that process. So to get the formative training in terms of heat pump or for that matter solar, and then you can issue.
Okay, so that does explain it, I think, in quite a bit of detail. So Adrian, the short answer to your question is no. If you're a licensed plumber, you cannot yet issue a COC for solar or heat pumps for that matter. You have to undergo the external training, service provider of your choice, credited. The PRB will verify that, and then you can register as a solar or hot water installer, get that designation, then you can issue the COCs for that.
Yeah, because I think it does become a challenge where I think some of the licensed plumbers think that they can do it.
Yes.
You know, and there's obviously the different categories in terms of what we have and in terms of those certificates.
Yeah.
So again, it's just making sure that you verify in terms of solar heat pumps. We often see it where the plumber operates and works on a solar or heat pump system, and it maybe was pre-existing. And because they don't have the knowledge of the solar or the heat pump system, many of those pre-existing non-compliances that were there before get picked up when the COC comes through. So it's just making sure that everybody's on the same page when it comes to understanding those systems.
Yeah, I think that's very important what you're saying. We can actually do a whole series of tech talks about that. I mean, there's a lot of training about solar, the education. There's so many aspects of solar that goes into this. So what a normal licensed plumber need to understand and be wary of is when you arrive on site and you find that there are solar panels connected to the geyser, do not treat the geyser as a normal geyser.
Yeah.
It is part of a solar system. Solar water heating installation is a panel and tank, the combination of that. So if the geyser is connected to solar panels, it makes part of a solar system, and that the whole system is classified as a solar water heating system. You cannot do work on that and issue a COC just for hot water because it's no longer hot water installation, it is solar.
Yeah. And I think that's a trap that a lot of the plumbers fall into.
Yes, maybe not intentional, but it's very important to note that you have to work on it as a solar system when it's connected to collectors.
All right,
Thank
so
you.
we're going to go on to the next question. Well done, Herman.
That's a short question, this one
It was a
coming
short
up.
question, okay. All right, so here we've got one. I have a question regarding the responsibilities of plumbers registered with your organization. If a plumber is registered, are they allowed to do non-compliant installations? Is it ethical to do so? I will sketch some scenarios for when this might occur. The client may want to save some money and instruct the plumber to take shortcuts or not use compliant material. The plumber does not have all the required materials and the client instructs them to proceed with what they have. The existing installation is non-compliant and the plumber replaces equipment in the same fashion as they were installed, i.e. new installation is also not compliant because the previous installation was non-compliant. The customer did not explicitly ask for a compliant installation. There's a lot there.
There's a lot and it touches on so many different aspects. And I think it's worth, let's start with the important aspects of this. The very important aspects is there are reasons for the standards. There are reasons why compliance exists. And therefore, the PRB never promotes non-compliant work. We always promote do compliant work because that is a safe installation. There's a lot to that as well. So I want to immediately touch on the final the last comment where he said sometimes the client might not explicitly ask for a compliant installation. I mean, a situation like that, you should never use that as an excuse. If I can be so blunt as saying that.
Are we expecting the client to understand all the requirements of the standard? I think the plumber is the professional.
Yes.
And the plumber is the one that should be detailing it to the consumer in terms of the risks associated with certain aspects of the work.
Yes, no, absolutely. I mean, you can draw it back to the Consumer Protection Act as well. If a plumber does work, the consumer don't explicitly ask for this. The plumber has got the responsibility, not only in terms of the plumbing regulations, but also consumer protection regulations, to inform the homeowner and to offer the compliant work to the customer.
Yeah, and I think it's a scenario that happens often. You know, we were discussing it earlier. There are many situations, but the one thing that we don't condone is non-compliance.
Yes.
But there will be circumstances that come up, and we've discussed a few, and
Yes.
that could be another 10 episodes. But again, the responsibility, as you said, lies with who, Herman?
It lies with the owner.
Thank you.
I think that's something we need to understand within this scenario, because we understand. I mean, it is logic. There will be cases that you arrive on site, I mean, especially with the existing installation. You arrive on site, the existing installation is non-compliant. You inform that to the homeowner, and you offer to make it compliant. But legally, the owner is responsible for his installation. The final responsibility lies with the owner. The responsibility of the plumber is to inform the owner.
Correct.
The owner may decide and give the instruction what to do. So in that case, if the owner instructs the plumber continue with work that is non-compliant, then the plumber may do so, but make very, very sure that you keep record of that you have record to show that this information, that this instruction was given by the homeowner, that the homeowner was informed that this is non-compliant work. Because in that way, you make sure that the risk of the non-compliance passes to the owner.
Correct. And I think that's something that we need to go and have. I mean, the non-compliance notice, as you and I have said and
Yes.
spoken about often, protects you.
Absolutely.
You know? And what you don't want to be is in a situation where you do the work, you don't denote it, and you don't advise the consumer of that pre-existing non-compliance or those items that are
Yes.
picked up. So there may be scenarios, again, where you'll do a whole installation and it may just be the brasswork, but you've got to cover it and move that responsibility back to the home.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why in legislation, I mean, what we call the non-compliance notice, you won't find that terminology in legislation, but that's our simplified word of referring to what is in the Consumer Protection Act, what is in the installation standards, the regulated installation standard, and that's why those different sets of regulation inform you, instruct the plumber to issue the homeowner, to inform the homeowner of the non-compliance. That's the way that you manage that, you make sure that you do the work that you've been instructed to do, but that the homeowner is fully aware and made the choice to have the non-compliant work then at the end of the day. Just one word of caution. Remember, a COC tells the homeowner the standard of compliance, tells everybody understand that the COC says the work is compliant. If a homeowner asks you to do a fully non-compliant installation, issuing a COC for that is a huge risk. It is not a full or a true reflection of the actual status. I mean, you can't expect somebody to receive a COC that says everything is perfect while it's not. And you as the plumber, if you issued that, will then be liable for that. So be very cautious when you get to a situation like that.
And if you quantify your COC,
Yes.
remember what you're doing with the COC, if you're doing replacement work or whatever, you're actually saying the work that you did.
Yeah.
You're certifying the work that you did, and you've made the consumer aware of the pre-existing before.
So a simple,
that's it.
a simple example. I mean, you've been instructed to, redo the bathroom, and the owner say, there's the box of taps, you will install this. So as a plumber, you didn't have the opportunity to verify whether those taps are compliant or not. So on your COC, you can note, I did all the bathroom, and I installed the taps as supplied by the consumer. That is one way of doing that.
And then you've shifted that, in terms of, and again, we'll have some of the plumbers coming back and saying, must I walk away from this work? Do I do it? Things are tough at the moment, but again, there's documentation and stuff out there to protect you. And like a referee says, when you get into the ring, protect yourself at all times. Make sure that you've crossed the T's and dot the I's.
I must be honest, I've had discussions with plumbers, some plumbers that actually walked away from installations. I remember, luckily I can't remember the plumber's name at the moment, but he explained to me, he said that the consumer wanted him to do an installation which the consumer thought were this brilliant inventive way of doing the installation. As the professional plumber, he actually saw that it was dangerous. There was huge risks to this. He knew that if he walked away, somebody else will step in and do the work. But he just says he couldn't associate himself with the dangers and the risks that would bring. And he decided to walk away from the job.
And there will be jobs like that. There will be jobs like that where there could be cross-contamination of water if you're doing, rainwater harvesting type of things like that. So I think the thing is, to be honest, upfront,
Yes.
when you see it, communicate with the consumer, try and alleviate some of those risks that are there, and then they are making an informed decision.
Absolutely.
And then you can also make that informed decision. You can say,
Yeah.
look, there's too much risk to me in terms of reputational damage or whatever for doing something like this, so I'm not going to do it. So thanks very much. Give me a call for the next one, but I'm going to walk away.
I would say my final comment on this, the final piece of advice that I would always give to plumbers not only situations like that, all over, is make sure you understand. Make sure you're familiar with the standards, you understand the reasons, you understand why, so that you can communicate better to your client, so that you can explain to your client why it is necessary to do something like that. And I'll challenge you, we sit here on the couch. If you have questions,
Send them.
Let's try and help you understand the reasons why as well, so that you can better respond to your customers. Because at the end of the day, it's about our water security, it's our safety, it's your family safety, everybody at risk here, at stake.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then before we move on to our last question, there's one more to come. Let's just go to an ad break again.
It's an exciting time to be a professionally registered plumber. The PIRB's leaderboard provides plumbers with the opportunity to be placed onto a ranking system to see how they perform amongst their peers around the country. This ranking system enables both plumbers and consumers to identify top local plumbers and monitor their performance nationally and regionally. Consumers will always look for the best, and at the top is where you'd want to be. It is therefore very important to be dedicated to continuously upskilling yourself through continuous professional development activities. The CPD points you accumulate during the CPD program will allow you to be rated on the leaderboard as you grow. The ranking system runs on a 3-month rolling average, where you can find yourself at the very top by accumulating more points than your peers. Top-ranked plumbers also stand a chance to win prizes through a lucky draw, where winners are announced on the PIRB's Plumbing 101 shows on YouTube. Do not miss out on the opportunity to be highlighted as an elite plumber in South Africa. Start accumulating points and become one of the best. Get skilled, get rewarded.
The PIRB Master Plumber Recognition Program has officially arrived. As an essential service to society, there must be constant growth and development within this important and ever-changing industry. Developed by the PIRB, the Master Plumber Recognition Program has launched as a new PIRB designation, allowing industry champions to take the lead. Skilled and experienced plumbers equipped to take the lead, enroll today to start your journey in becoming a recognized PIRB Master Plumber.
Welcome back. You're still tuned to On the Couch. Let's take a look at our last question for the show. This one from Carl. How I must go about getting a copy of my certificate? I went back to the institute that I got my certificate from and registered. So I asked them, but the names changed and they said they cannot help me. Can you please advise me? So I don't know what certificate he's looking for.
I think the first thing we need to clarify is what certificate. So I assume, based on the structure of the question, that what he's talking about is his actual qualification.
Correct.
And that he tries to find out there. I think, well, the starting point, just to make sure we understand again where the PRB fit into the process. The PRB being the professional body, we don't do training. We do not issue certificates, qualifications. We do not issue qualifications to anybody. So the PRB, once your qualification has been issued by a training provider, well, that is accredited, then the PRB, then you can register with the PRB as a professional plumber, as a licensed plumber through that process. So we assume this is the certificate. So
Yeah,
if
so I think,
if you ever
yeah.
try to help somebody obtain the certificate, they've
Yeah. and 10 years later, you might still be getting there. But I think that, look, there has been some challenges. CETA have had their challenges in terms of getting certificates and what have you. But I think the first port of call, going back to the training provider that you actually did it, if you've joined IOPSA as an example, you would have, at that stage, would have sent your certificate through, you know, in terms of verification. If you were registered with PIRB, you would have done it. So there are various ways of going through: training providers, Department of Labour, SAQA, and CETA. So it's just to follow up with those. It does become a challenge, to be quite honest. So keep that piece of paper, frame it, stick it on your wall, make sure you don't lose it.
Yeah, so I think important to understand that unfortunately this is not something that PRB can resolve on your behalf. We would be happy to give you contact information to help point you in the right direction for different organizations, different places where you can try to facilitate, where you can try to follow up and so on. And I would like to say good luck. Don't stop. Please keep on chasing that until you get to some point. If you get stuck, we can try and help point you in the right direction again. But it gets down to a lot of specifics. There's unfortunately no central register in the country where all the qualifications are handled. That would have been much easier if that were available. Then we could have point you there and say, well, just go and get on that list. It is a matter of hunting down where it ended up at the end of the day.
Keep a copy.
Keep
And
a
that's
copy.
to all of those
Keep a
that are
copy.
currently qualifying now, is make sure you
Yes.
keep that copy, get it in a frame, whatever, because I know, you know, even going overseas, you know, trying to present your qualifications and everything else, if you're trying to immigrate or whatever, and trying to get, it's a challenge. I think I had a chat with Rory McNamara the other day, and he was saying how they've tried to assist individuals getting their first certificate, not a replacement certificate. So there are challenges.
Well, that was great.
Well,
this brings
wonderful.
us to the end of this episode today. Thanks very much for sending your questions. I hope that this was informative.
But we want more.
We want more.
We want more questions.
We're ready for that. Steve, if you have any last words for our listeners?
Well, I think wonderful to be back on the couch. You know, we should maybe need a footstool or something just to relax a little bit more, but I think it's been great. Wonderful, Herman. You're still looking young, healthy and strong. I'm looking old, miserable and grumpy, but yeah, welcome. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Take care.